The sun had barely risen over Scottsdale when the quiet perfection of Silver Mesa Estates began its usual performance. Silver Mesa was the kind of neighborhood that appeared on glossy brochures. Identical beige stucco homes, red-tiled roofs, trimmed hedges so precise they looked measured with rulers, and palm trees placed with architectural intention. It was governed, some would say ruled, by an exacting homeowners association known as the Silver Mesa Community Council. At the center of that council stood Gregory Halden. Gregory was a retired insurance executive with neatly combed silver hair and a posture that suggested permanent disapproval. He believed deeply in order. Order preserved property value. Order maintained peace. Order separated neighborhoods like Silver Mesa from what he referred to, in hushed tones, as urban chaos. For 6 years, he had served as HOA president. He enforced paint codes. He fined residents for leaving trash bins visible past 8 p.m. He once issued a warning because a child's chalk drawing lingered too long on a driveway. He prided himself on consistency. What he did not yet understand was how fragile his definition of order truly was. At 7:12 a.m., 68-year-old Marisol Ortega collapsed in her kitchen. Marisol had moved into Silver Mesa 5 years earlier after her husband's passing. She loved the sunlight in her kitchen and the way the mountains glowed lavender in the early morning. Her daughter, Elena, lived 2 streets away in the same subdivision. That morning, Marisol had been preparing café de olla when a crushing pain seized her chest. The mug shattered on the tile floor. She tried to call for help but only managed a weak gasp before collapsing. Her smartwatch detected the sudden fall and irregular heart rhythm. Within seconds, it triggered an emergency alert. By 7:14 a.m., dispatch had identified the address, 1124 Desert Bloom Lane. Possible cardiac event, the dispatcher relayed.
Ambulance en route.
Silver Mesa had a gated entrance. Officially, it was for enhanced security and exclusivity. Unofficially, it was Gregory's pride. Emergency services had access codes on file, but only for the main gate. Gregory had recently changed the code after a delivery truck driver accidentally used the resident lane. He had meant to update the city database. He hadn't gotten around to it. Paramedic Jordan Keller and his partner, Nina Patel, turned their ambulance toward the Silver Mesa entrance. The red and white vehicle slowed before the closed gate. Jordan tapped the code stored in their system. Access denied. He tried again. Denied. Dispatch, we're at the gate, Nina said into her radio. Code isn't working. Stand by, dispatch replied. Inside his home, overlooking the entrance, Gregory was reviewing emails from the landscaping contractor when he heard sirens. He walked to his front window, frowning. An ambulance idling outside the gate. He checked his phone.
No notification.
No scheduled maintenance. No prior request. The council had recently implemented a pre-clearance policy after a moving truck scraped decorative stonework. Gregory grabbed his HOA-issued radio and stepped outside. Jordan stepped down from the ambulance and approached the intercom. Silver Mesa Estates. Gregory's voice crackled through the speaker. Sir, we have a medical emergency at 1124 Desert Bloom Lane, Jordan said. We need the gate opened immediately. Gregory adjusted his glasses. Do you have a resident confirmation? He asked. Jordan blinked. This is an emergency response. Yes, I understand, but our policy requires verification. We've had unauthorized access issues before. Nina leaned out from the driver's seat. Sir, we don't have time for policy. This is a possible heart attack. Gregory crossed his arms. You'll need to wait while I confirm with the homeowner. Jordan's jaw tightened. The homeowner is the patient. Inside 1124 Desert Bloom Lane, Marisol's pulse was weakening. Ortega received the automated emergency alert. She dropped her coffee mug and ran barefoot from her house down the sidewalk, panic rising with each step. She reached her mother's kitchen and found her pale, barely breathing.
Marisol whispered faintly.
I'm here, Mama. The ambulance is coming. Jordan radioed dispatch again. We're still blocked at the gate. HOA refusing entry. Dispatch escalated the call to a supervisor. Inside his home office, Gregory dialed Marisol's landline. No answer. He dialed Elena's number, which he found in the resident directory. No answer. Sir, Jordan said firmly into the intercom. We are losing critical time. Gregory hesitated. Rules mattered. Rules prevented chaos. He had worked hard to maintain Silver Mesa's exclusivity. If he opened the gate for every siren without verification, what would that say about control? Marisol went into cardiac arrest. Dispatch upgraded the call to life-threatening. Fire support requested, the supervisor said. Advise patient status unknown due to access delay. Jordan looked at Nina. This is ridiculous. He considered breaking the gate, but the metal barrier was reinforced steel, and damaging it would cost precious minutes. Suddenly, Elena burst through her front door, sprinting toward the entrance. She saw the ambulance beyond the gate and Gregory standing beside the intercom pedestal. Open it, she screamed. Gregory turned, startled. Elena, I'm verifying. My mother is dying. Her voice cracked across the quiet street. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Jordan spoke again, through the intercom. Sir, we need access now. Gregory's certainty wavered for the first time. He reached into his pocket for the gate remote. Then his phone rang. It was dispatch. Mr. Halden, the voice said sharply, this is Scottsdale Emergency Services. Open the gate immediately, or we will involve law enforcement. His face flushed. He pressed the remote. The gate slid open at 7:25 a.m., 7 minutes after the ambulance arrived. Marisol was unresponsive. Jordan began chest compressions while Nina prepared the defibrillator.
Clear.
Shock delivered.
No rhythm.
Another shock. Still no stable response. Time since collapse. Jordan asked. About 15 minutes. Elena sobbed. Jordan exchanged a glance with Nina. They continued CPR. Jordan radioed dispatch. We need air evacuation. Prepare helicopter. The nearest trauma center equipped for advanced cardiac intervention was in downtown Phoenix, nearly 25 minutes by road with morning traffic. By air, less than 10. Dispatch contacted AirMed. Rotor blades began spinning on the hospital rooftop. At 7:34 a.m., a deep thudding filled the sky. Residents stepped outside, shielding their eyes. A rescue helicopter descended toward the community park at the center of Silver Mesa. The manicured grass bent violently under rotor wash. Patio umbrellas flipped. Decorative planters toppled. Gregory stood frozen on the sidewalk as the helicopter settled into the park he had once fined a resident for stepping on after receding. 9 minutes after the gate finally opened, the helicopter arrived. Firefighters secured a landing zone. Paramedics rushed Marisol onto a stretcher and out the front door. Elena followed, tears streaming down her face. Jordan and Nina loaded Marisol into the helicopter. The door shut. The aircraft lifted into the morning sky, and Silver Mesa, pristine and controlled, was left trembling in its wake. By noon, the story had spread beyond the subdivision. A neighbor had recorded part of the confrontation at the gate. The video, Gregory insisting on policy, while Elena screamed, went viral. Local news stations in Scottsdale picked it up. By evening, it aired across Phoenix. HOA blocks ambulance during cardiac emergency. Gregory watched the broadcast alone in his living room. He told himself the narrative was unfair. He had not refused outright. He had sought verification. He had followed procedure. But as the footage replayed, Elena's voice breaking, the ambulance idling helplessly, his justifications began to sound hollow. At Mayo Clinic Hospital, cardiologists worked swiftly. Marisol underwent emergency angioplasty to clear a severe coronary blockage. Doctors later told Elena that every minute without circulation had mattered. They had restored her heartbeat. But she remained in critical condition. We'll know more in 24 hours, the physician said gently.
Elena nodded, exhausted.
She thought about those 7 minutes at the gate. 7 minutes of argument. 7 minutes of pride. Silver Mesa fractured into two camps. Some defended Gregory. He was protecting us. We can't just open the gate to anyone. Others were furious. It's an ambulance. What if it had been my husband? An emergency HOA meeting was called. Gregory stood before a packed clubhouse. I acted according to established procedures, he began. A hand shot up in the audience. Procedures that nearly killed someone, a neighbor said. Murmurs rippled through the room. Gregory felt something unfamiliar.
Doubt.
2 days later, Marisol regained consciousness. Weak but alive. Elena held her hand and cried. Doctors said she would need months of rehabilitation, but she would survive. When the news reached Silver Mesa, relief washed through the neighborhood. Relief and reflection. Gregory visited the hospital. He stood awkwardly by Marisol's bed. I believed I was doing the right thing, he said quietly. Marisol looked at him with tired eyes. Rules are meant to protect people, she whispered, not replace compassion. The words struck deeper than any accusation. Within weeks, the Silver Mesa Community Council dissolved the pre-clearance policy. Emergency services received updated gate codes and permanent override access. A new protocol ensured immediate entry for first responders, no verification required. Gregory resigned as president. At the next election, Elena was chosen to serve on the board. The gate remained, but something fundamental had shifted. Residents began questioning not just policies, but priorities. What truly preserved a community? Uniform, paint colors, or trust? Months later, Marisol walked slowly through the community park where the helicopter had landed. Children played nearby. The grass had regrown. Life had resumed. Gregory, now simply another resident, approached her. I'm volunteering with the city's emergency preparedness program, he said, trying to make sure access delays don't happen elsewhere. Marisol smiled faintly. Good, she said. That's a better use of rules. In the distance, an ambulance siren wailed briefly on a main road outside the gates. This time, the entrance stood ready.
No hesitación. No debate.
Just open. Because sometimes, the measure of a community isn't how tightly it controls its borders, but how quickly it opens them when someone inside is fighting to live.